Hello. We are going to talk about decimal place value today. Decimal place value you learned last year, and you learned it at the beginning of the year, but we're going to add on to it, okay? To start, we're going to take a few notes on the vocabulary. I've already written it out. I may or may not messed up on the last video I was doing, so I had to restart. So I'm not going to rewrite all those notes again, but I'm going to go through them with you. So if you'll get a piece of paper or your notebook and write this down, and then when you're finished, you're going to put it in your binder in your math tab. What you're going to do is we're going to talk about the vocabulary part of place value. So decimal place value. So we're going to write vocabulary or vocab. Vocab, the value is how much it's worth. How much it's worth, not work. See, look, I needed to check that anyway. How much it's worth, okay? Not work. How much it's worth. So if you have 4 800ths, we're talking about 8 hundredths. That's how much the value is, okay? All right, and then place is where it's located in the digit. So if we had that 4 800ths right there, and we were talking about the 8, we would say that it was located in the hundredths spot. Okay, standard form. So this is the way that numbers are written, the regular way we write them. Standard form just means the number way that we write. So if we wrote 14, we write it 14. So I know I'm going a little fast. So if you need to pause the video, pause it, and then catch up, okay? So 14. Word form is the way that we write the number as we say it. So we say 14, we would write out 14. Using words. I'm going to add that in there. Using words. Okay. And then expanded form. So this is where you pull it apart, write it using place values. So 14, you would say 10 plus 4. So you put the 10s and the 1s, and then you add it together, which would be 14. And then a decimal is the other part of the vocabulary, and that is a part of a number. It's not a whole number. A decimal is from the right of the decimal point on, and it is part of a number. It is not a whole number. Guys, I will put this, I'm scanning it in, and then I'll put it with my video. But if you need to catch up, you can pause it, but I'm going to move on. Okay, so I created a decimal place value chart for us to look at today. Okay, so these are the whole numbers from this point over is whole number. So your hundreds, I'm going to turn it this way. Pause it so you can write that in. But you have hundreds, tens, ones. Then you've got your decimal. Okay. So after your decimal, you have tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay. And we have 10,000ths here, but you don't have to know 10,000ths in 5th grade. So I've just sort of left that off right now. All right. I'm going to show you a trick. So if you are unsure on how you know what place is what, there's a little trick you can do. You can put a 1 under the decimal and then put zeros under the place values in a decimal and know what place value they're in. So if you write a number and you see a 10, you would know that decimal is in the 10th spot. This number would be in the decimal hundredths, and this would be the thousandths. Okay? The and means and I feel like I'm going faster. Let me slow down. Let me show you what I mean with using numbers and using that trick. If you have the number 476 thousandths, to be able to know what this place value is, you're going to put a 1 under that decimal, and that sort of just holds that spot. Then you're going to fill in with zeros. What number do I have under my decimal? You have 1,000. So I know that 6 is lined up with that last 0 in the 1,000. So that would be thousands. I know that 7 is lined up with the last 0 in 100. So it would be 700s. And then that 4 is lined up under the 0 in 10. So that means that 4 is the tenths. So also, if you notice with the decimals, anything after the decimal, you have a TH added on. Okay, THS. So tenths, hundredths, thousands. All right. So that is how we know that it's a decimal. We would say that is the 4 is in the tenths spot. Okay. The 7 is in the hundredths spot. And the 6 is in the thousandths spot. That's why putting the 1 and the zeros underneath your number can help a lot, because you do this automatically. You put your 1 and your zeros. That way you can tell, okay, well, that 4 is over top that first zero, so that means it's a tenths. That 7 is over top of that third. I should maybe just, my brain's not working this morning. That 7 is over top that second 0, so that means that it's in the hundredths spot. And that 6 is over the third 0, which means it's in the hundredths spot. Okay? So when you say your number, when you say a decimal number, you're going to say this part first, which is 476. You would say it just like normally. Like you have $476. You would say 476 the same. And I like to call that, I'm not sure what she's doing. I would like to call that the first name. Then you're going to use the decimal as its last name. So the first name of this decimal is 476. The last name is thousands. All right. So the first name is going to be 476. The last name is thousands. All right. And that's just a trick to help us know that we have to say 2 parts to it. It's 476 is the first name. Thousandths is the second. All right. So if we have $538, I want to know how I say that in decimal. Put your 1 under there and then fill in your zeros. So the first name of this number is 538. The last name, okay, looking, I've got, what number do I have underneath that decimal? You have 1,000. So you would say thousandths. Okay, so we would say first name 538, last name thousandths. So that number right here is 538 thousandths. What if you just had that? I'm going to write first name, last name. Okay, I can't forget my trick, because my trick is really going to help me. So you put your 1 and 2 zeros. Okay, what is the first name of this decimal? What's 17? 17 is my first name. Okay, because when we see the decimal, we say whatever the number looks like when we're using whole numbers. So it's 17. Then I look under here. What's the biggest number I've got here with my zeros? Well, it's 100. So that means that 7 is over top of the 100. So that means we would say hundredths. So this is hundredths is the last name. So our decimal here is named 17 hundredths. All right, well, let's look at the places of these numbers. What place is that 1 in? Well, that 1 is over top of 10, so it would be tenths. All right. If we looked at the 3, that 3 is over top that second 0, so that would be hundredths. All right. All right, if we had, okay. So I'm going to write out first name and last name. Okay. So what did I forget? I forgot my trick. You've got to put the 1 and the zeros. Now, I don't put any other zeros because I wouldn't put another one because I don't have a number to go over top of it. So you only put the zeros in if you have the numbers to go over top of it. Evelyn, are you good? Yeah. Okay, so my first name is 8. I would say that just like if I saw that in a whole number, it's 8. And then I've got the 8 is over top my second 0. So I've got 100 written there. So it's 8 hundredths. So my first name is 8. My last name is hundredths. All right. Let's do, one more thing I wanted to look at this one. So if I wanted to know what the place value for that 0 would be, what place value is that 0 on top in? What place value is that 0? That would be tenths, but there are 0 tenths. So the 0 is holding the place, but there's no tenths there, okay? But it's still holding that place, right? All right, because sometimes how we say that 0 is a placeholder, it's just holding the place of that spot, okay? All right, let's look at this. Oh, let me do this one. What if I had I done messed it up. What if we had a whole number attached to that? Well, I'm still going to put my trick in there, fill in my zeros, but I don't have to put anything under my 3 because it's whole. But that 3 is still going to be a part of my first name. So we're going to say 3 and, because our decimal is and, 42. Okay, because I don't have a number in my tenths place value, but I do have a 42 on top. So I would just say 42. So 3 and 42 is the first name. What's my last name? What's my decimal worth here? I've got my 2 is over top the 1,000. So it would be thousandths. So you would say 3 and 42 thousandths. The decimal place is always going to be your last name. All right, take a quick sip of coffee. I fix my coffee every morning, and every morning it's always cold. Okay, let's look at okay. So first name and then last name. Okay. Gotta do my trick. Gotta put my 1 and my 0. Okay, so my first name is what? What would I say is my first name? What number do I have on top? 76. And then what is my last name? What is my decimal place? My place value. My 6 is over top of 100. So it would be hundreds. Okay. I'm going to do one more. I'm almost out of room. Whoa. I'm going to put first name and last name. Okay. Gotta do my trick. Oh, that is easy peasy. Okay, so what's my first name? My first name is 21 and. 21 and 1. 21 and 1. That's the first name. What's my last name? The last name's the decimal. My 1 is over top my 10. So that would be tenths. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop here. And then you're going to do a decimal place value, like fill in the blank. But I'll do the first couple ones with you on the Google slide. Okay. And that's it. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay. Bye.